Hey there guys, I'm just going to continue with a little bit more tutorials that are covering the first module, assignment 1s. In this one I'm going to create a complex incline of falls, multiple falls and rises. Just kind of show you and walk you through it. Now don't forget again, when you get started inside of Maya, you want to go File, Project Window, Set Project, or whatever it is, and then of course save in the appropriate files. Now I'm still going to be doing here, so let's go ahead and hit the Project Window. I'll say New Project, and I'll call this again, since this is the variable, I'll call it the Variable Incline Project. Give it a proper location folder in this case. I'm actually going to put this in Module 1 folder, and select that Module 1 folder, and all these folders will get created, and that's kind of nice and convenient when it comes time to actually doing that. Alright, some other things to verify are, again, how much time are we going to need to actually get this to go up and down a couple different things. Remember that 24 frames per second is our playback. So if you just count in your head how, 3 seconds, 4 seconds to fall, 1 second to go up a hill, maybe 2 seconds to fall back down, we're getting around 8 seconds at 24 frames per second. 24, I'll make it even 10. That'll make it 240 frames. So I'll just go 240. Notice how this one automatically jumps to 240. Sorry about the fire truck. And let's go ahead and set up our little stage here. So I'm going to do it just like we did before. So I'm just going to start by creating our little setup of cube. Now again, if your little gizmos here are too hard or too small to get a hold of, minus and plus is a good way to kind of adjust that. Just minus and plus on your keyboard. And now I'm going to hit spacebar and switch back to my front view here so I can get an idea of how to scale up and size my little setup here. Polycube, let's go ahead and let's do 16 wide. We'll do 2 high, and we'll do subdivisional depth of just 1. That'll allow us now to take our little ramp, or whatever you want to call it, our elevational little ramp, and scale it out so that we get some variation of things. And now I can start to think about how do I want to build my little, almost reminds me of a skateboard park. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these two guys over here, like so. Let's go ahead and give it our first ramp. We'll have it go flat for a little bit, like so. And maybe we'll bring this up so we have an up to get some momentum. And I'll stretch that down. So, like I said, just think of like an obstacle course or a little skate ramp. That actually tells me, you know what? This actually needs to be higher. To actually build up some speed. Oops, forgot to move this guy back. And again, I'm just in sub-object mode, which is right-click, choose by vertex. You can also choose by edge. You can also choose by face. It's basically, again, and all I am really is in the modeling setting here, right here. Modeling setting point. Okay, so we get our little complex ramp. Zoom out using my middle mouse button, and I'll put a sphere. Let's make this sphere again something like 12, so it's a little bit lighter weight. And move it up to our starting point, right about the edge of the ramp. Now remember, we want to probably center this out or zero out, so this is again a modify freeze transformations. Look it to the right-hand side in our attribute editor. When I do that, the channel box, everything gets zeroed out. And now it's just an issue of starting to define where we want things to speed up, slow down, and so on. So instead of just rolling down or going horizontally now, we need to actually start to pick our places. Okay, so I've got it right here, right on the precipice, right on the edge. I could actually give it a little lead in, but I'm actually going to have it be right on the edge there. And I know that I want this to be, we already know that we have an X and a Y setting, but I'm going to put that keyframe here to 20, we'll go 24. So I know those need to be keyed. If you recall, we had our rotation of the Z before, so I could go ahead and key the rotate Z now. So they're all ready to go, and I already do have my auto key set. So that now I want to come to some value at the end of time here. Maybe I'll say 2, doesn't really matter at this point, I'll say 234. And at 234, this has to be at a stop here. Okay. And I'm just going to guess here a rotational value of, remember, it's a negative value based on what we did before. So maybe -8 rotations, maybe negative, we'll say -8, which is again, whoops, is dealing with, calculator here, 360 rotations times 8, maybe -2,800. We'll just put a value like that there, -2,800. Now, if I rewind, did I do the right? Yeah, did it. Okay, let's see if that works. And you see one of the problems we're having, of course, is that it's just flying from air from point A to point B. We need to define a lot more of these points. Okay? So to do that, we need to start to guess speed, you know, moving quickly versus going slowly. Well, we know if it's going downhill and it's going rather fast, it's going to take less frames. So I'm just going to take this and I'm going to place this right here. And I'm going to go ahead and keyframe the rotation here, again, to add a keyframe without changing and altering. I'll have to change that at a later time. Now we need a slow amount of time to get to the top of our little hill. Let's put it right there. Get to the end of our little apex. And of course now it's going to speed up as it goes down. And now you can see we can just go through here and look for wherever it is going through, wherever it's going through the geometry. See, just set those points. Set it up so it's just outside the boundary and it's not going through. See how it's going through in some places here. We need to make sure it's not going through and traveling through. It's staying along that base on the ground. And the auto key is doing the bulk of that. Okay. So let's see how that ball moves. So it actually slows down. Now, I'm finding that, whoops, let me go back to my pause button. Right along here there, this almost needs to happen, you know, from here to here is a little bit slow. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to highlight that, cut those keys, move back a little bit, and paste those keys. Because I want this to be a quicker motion through here. Okay? See now where we need to make some changes as far as where its XY axis is going. And there we go. Okay. But now let's get the rotation correctly, right? Because now we need to focus on the rotation being faster through there. So this is where we can go and we could say, okay, well, if it's starting at downhill 0, and right about here is where we want it to get faster in the rotation. You see, it's about -500. Okay? Well, what I can do here with this key, right about here, is change this to be a different value other than negative, it says for me, -491. I probably want this to have a faster value here. Okay? So maybe I'll type in -800 to set that key. Because now it's going to slow down as it goes up the hill. You see it's only about -1000. And by the time it gets here, it should be slowing down again. So maybe I'll take this instead of -1547, I'll say -1400. Make it go slow there. And then, of course, you can see I've got a little bit of weird bounce here. Just move that. I can even slow down the ending here because remember I'm going to 2800. So right about here, let's say -2600. Now let's look at the performance of our ball, and you'll start to see it take into account going quickly, quickly, slow, almost to a stop, and then speed up again. This is a good time now to go and look at what's called that graph editor. Window, animation, graph editor. And it's going to show us all of our different keys. I'll scale it up here. So you can even see like the rotate. You can see where it is, starting slow, speeding up. So this almost could be a little bit of a, more of a step, right? More of a step motion. So let's go see where that really needs to slow down now. So right about here and to there. That should be the slowest or zeroed out graph editor movement. See? Instead, it actually has it going the fastest. So I'm going to go ahead and change it there. And so you see we're almost getting to almost no speed. And then it speeds up and slows down once again. So this is almost representing the rotation, not just the movement. We also have, again, you see here, we've got elements here. This is where it is over the X, and this is where it is over the Y. Well, by gosh, if you look at the Y movement, it almost exactly represents the shape of our little ramp. Let's go back and hit play. Speeds up, slows down, almost comes to a stop, but then keeps going. I almost had a little bit of tumble there. So what we're doing again is we're giving a little ramp-based obstacle course of speeding up and slowing down, playing with the curves, playing with the EaseIn, EaseOuts to get the process that we're looking for. Let's go ahead and swap this to a perspective view to see what we got. Here, I can almost take this and just move it back a little bit. Let's see what it looks like in the perspective. Let this may play. A little bit of a bounce right here where it's going, kind of catching a little air I get. And it's got a little bit of sliding at the end, which is not very natural, but overall, you can see how it's really not too complicated to create this effect of kind of bounce, of changing the speeds, and so on. Now, while I've got you here, I'm going to talk a little bit in a second. I'm going to hit the pause here, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to start to introduce things like how to actually add, what if we want to add some software renderable lights? What if we actually want to add some simple renderable textures and so on? So I'm going to go ahead and stop this video right now to get it loaded up, and I will continue with another part in